All right, we will move on to the vehicle armature. For animating objects in Blender, you can directly keyframe the empties, but in general, you really want to animate a rig, and that's much more flexible as your model changes. So we'll do a very simple one now, and then we'll adjust it for different vehicle suspension types later. So we'll highlight the CJ6 collection that we made previously, and right-click and add a collection, and hit F2, and we're going to call it Armature. And we're going to right-click on the Armature collection, and change it to a red color to show that it's an armature collection. So now we're going to do Shift A and add an armature. All right. And that showed up inside the collection. If it didn't, go ahead and hover your pointer in the viewport and press M and move it there. So this creates a single large bone at the origin pointing upwards. So let's open up the armature hierarchy in the outliner to see how it works. Let's F2 on the top armature and rename that G armature. And then we want to start editing the bones. To edit the bones, we need to be in edit mode. So we'll hit Tab to enter edit mode. Now you can click on the bone here, F2, and name that G root. All right, and that's this highlighted bone in the middle here. So now we can set our transform root pivot to individual origins. And then we can hit S and scale the Jeep root until the bone just pokes out of the top of the Jeep. There we go. And then we're going to align the wheel bones to the wheel nulls. So this is going to be a little bit odd because we need to switch in and out of object mode to set the 3D cursor and then back to edit mode to move the bones. So we'll tab out of edit mode and back into object mode. We're going to pick the wheel front left null. See it here. I'm going to do Shift S. We're going to do cursor to selected. So we're going to move our 3D cursor onto that null. And then we'll select on our armature, hit tab for edit mode. And we're going to click on that bone again. And this time we're going to hit Shift D to duplicate it. And then over here, and just click to set, hit Shift S, and then we're going to go selection to cursor. So we just duplicated the bone and we put it right on the wheel front left null. All right, that's a very large bone. So we're going to hit S and we'll scale. Once again, we're on our individual origins for our transform pivot point. Now we're going to tab out of edit mode, going to pick the wheel front right and Shift S, cursor to selected, put the cursor over there. Pick our armature, edit, pick one of our bones, Shift D to duplicate, set it, and then Shift S for selection to cursor. And there's our second bone. And we're going to repeat for the last two wheels. Okay. And while we're in edit mode, let's use F2 to rename the different wheel bones to wheel front left, wheel front right, etc. All right. And then before we exit edit mode, we want to parent these bones to the Jeep root. So we'll hit select wheel front left, Control P, parent, offset, and we'll repeat with these others. There we go. So we have 4 bones that are correctly parented. All right, object mode, Control S to save. All right, now we have an armature with correctly parented wheel bones, but the Jeep doesn't know which parts move with which bones. To fix this, we're going to use pose mode. The shortcut to get into pose mode is Control Tab on Windows or Command Tab on Mac. So we'll start with the body. And we're going to select it. And we're going to shift click on the root bone and Control Tab to go to pose mode. We're going to make sure the root bone is selected of all the bones. And then we're going to hit Control P to parent, and we're going to pick bone. And now the Jeep body is parented to the Jeep root bone. So we can test that by holding G and moving around and seeing that the body moves along with the node. Escape, get out of that, and Control Tab back to object mode. And then we're going to pick the wheel front left null, shift click on the same Jeep root bone, and note that all the bones are going to highlight in object mode. I'm going to go to Control Tab to go to pose mode. I'm going to pick the wheel front left bone here, and we're going to Control P to parent. There we go. And then the wheel will move along with the bone. So we're going to come back out into object mode, go to wheel front right, shift click on the wheel front right bone, Control Tab to go to object mode, click on our wheel front right, Control P to parent, bone. Now I hit G and we can move our wheel around. Control Tab back out, wheel rear left null, select that, shift and select the bone, Control Tab, go into pose mode, click the bone, Control P to parent, bone. That's correctly parented. And Control Tab back out, wheel rear right, Shift and click on the bone, Control Tab, Control click, make sure you click on the correct bone, Control P to parent, choose bone, and as we hit grab and move that around, and that'll move along with it. Great, now it's rigged. Control Tab back out to object mode, and then Control S to save. All right, so now that the vehicle is rigged and in collections, we can move to the scene.